In this video, I'm going to be showing you two ways that you can color individual table cells in perspective. The first way is by setting up an embedded view for that column. I have my query already set up, bound to my data, and I have all of my columns set up in here. So I want to style my unit price column based on another value from my data set. If the value in the row has a price above average that's 1, then I want to style my unit price red, the background color. Otherwise, I'll leave it blank. And so I'm going to use an embedded view to do this. I'm going to start by creating that embedded view, and then I will assign it to my unit price column. So let's do that now. Creating a new view, and I'll call this unit price. I'm just going to resize this like that. Maybe make it a little wider. And then I'm going to put a label on it. And I'll set that to grow 1. On my view, I'm going to go to my parameters and add a parameter here called value. This is going to be that cell's value that comes in from the data set. And then I'm also going to create an object parameter called row data. Now, if you're going to have a different way of setting the style, maybe you have just a set number that if this column is greater than that number, then style it a certain way. I'm going to bind this, or I'm going to set the style based on another value in my row. So I'm bringing in this row data. It'll have a key value pair for each of the columns in that row. And so what I'm going to do is go to my label here. I'm going to set the text to a binding on that value parameter. And then on my root container, I'm going to create my background color. And I'm going to create a binding on that and say if, and then go to my parameter row data. And although I don't have the data on the view right now, I know what's going to get passed in is going to be a column called price above average. And I want this to be, if it's equal to 1, then I want it to be red, otherwise blank. Okay, so my preview is going to give an error. I'm going to see probably an error overlay. If not, let's just go to the table. And now I want to configure my unit price column. Find that. I'm going to change this render property to a view, and then go to my view path property and find that unit price. And you see I have the same values, and now I also have this background color where the value for price above average is 1. Okay, so that's the first way of doing things. The other way of coloring individual table cells is going to be by creating a JSON data set. And we're going to basically return each cell in the data set as an object with both a value and a style. So to do that, I'm going to create this transform script. And I have my return format as JSON already. So what I want to do is create a variable for my output that's going to be an array. I'll just return that right now. And then what I want to do is say for row in value, that value is the entire data set here. It's coming into this expression or this transformation script. So for row in value, I'm going to create a new row as an object. And then I'm also going to create my background color. And I'll say it's red if the value in my row at the price above average column equals 1, else blank. And then for each column in my row, I want my new row at that column to be equal to an object with a value set to my row at that column. And then I want a style with a background color. And this will take my BG color here. Last thing to do here is say output.append new row. And I'm going to hit OK. And you're going to see this is actually going to style the entire row, not an individual cell. So I have the entire row styled here. That's because if I open these up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, let's just go here. This value. So you can see every column, every cell has a value and a style, and they're all being assigned to this color. So what I got to do to just get that cell is come in here and in my column loop, say if column equals unit price, then do this. Otherwise, new row column equals row column, like that. That should just take care of that. So now you can see I have just that cell styled. So the differences between these two methods is with the first method, you can keep your entire data set in a data set. You don't have to do any transformations off of that. But also you'll notice that this background color is really just coloring in that label, the embedded view. You can notice that there's some spacing in the row around that embedded view. So it fits on these rows, but when the row gets a little too tall, you see there's some spacing on top and bottom. Versus in this other method, it's going to style the entire cell, no matter how tall the row is. But you have to have this one set up as a JSON data set, which is not an issue until you have really large data sets in the thousands of rows. Then you may experience some performance issues. But there you have it. There's 2 ways that you can add colors to individual table cells in perspective. Hope that this helped. See you in the next one.